What's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here with a preview for the Northern Trust. Before we get into that, last week at the Wyndham Championship, that was pretty cool, right? We got a little bit of a birdie fest. Sned shot a 59, but watching CT Pan fade away on Sunday was like, I don't know, getting a root canal on a Monday night. Not good. But let's look ahead to this week. It is the first week of the playoffs. 120 players in the field. We're going to be in New Jersey at I keep calling it Ridgeway. It is Ridgewood Country Club, which is going to be a little interesting because this has played host to this event before, 2008, 2010, and 2014, I believe. So while we don't have a ton of relevant course history, we do have some. So we'll talk more about that in a minute, but let's jump directly into this. So if you have never seen this before, this is my cheat sheet for this week. It's available on dfsondemand.com with everything else that you see in this video. All right. There are 5 guys priced at $10,000. Dustin Johnson leads the way, and we have to talk about him a little bit at length here. So I don't need to tell you Dustin Johnson is the greatest player in the world. He's scorching hot. He literally is, I'm running out of adjectives to describe him. But what I really want to point out here is his tournament history. And I understand this is at different courses, but I want to point this out to you. Last 4 years here at the Northern Trust, it's a first, 2 seconds, and a fourth. If you go back to 2012, so he missed the cut in 2013. If you go back to 2012, he had a 4th place finish. The reason I want to point that out is because it is absolutely elite tournament history. And I'm gonna show you something here, and if you're listening on the podcast, I'll describe this. This is just something I've messed around with. You can see it's literally my like raw data down here. What I'm showing is on the right-hand side here is where you want to look. It is the average finish for every player at every event that they've made at least 4 starts since 2008. Dustin Johnson's average finish here at the Northern Trust is 2.25. Okay, a win, 2 seconds, and a fourth, 2.25 average. That is far and away the best course history, or I'm sorry, I shouldn't say course history, tournament history of any player at any tournament in this 4-year stretch. Actually, it's a 5-year stretch. I did include 2018, so obviously we haven't played this tournament yet in 2018, so it actually is a 5-year stretch. Brooks Koepka at the U.S. Open is second. Obviously, 2 back-to-back wins. He is a 7.4 finish here. So, I mean, I'm just trying to go to show you that if you're a tournament history kind of guy, DJ is your man. And if we only look at the last 4 years, so let me see if I can do this real quick, because I think it's important. All right, so this is now just the last 4 years. So 2017, 16, 15, 14. Bubba now pops up on this list. His average finish is 6.5 here at the Northern Trust in 4 starts. That is, let's see, a 10th, a 2 wins, and a 14th place finish to get him there. To kind of put that into perspective, I think that Bubba's average finish on tour since 2008 is something like 43, and DJ's is something like 35. So if you're a tournament history guy, if you like to play that, you're getting 2 elite players this week as far as tournament history goes. So absolutely felt the need to point that out. All right, the rest of these 10K guys, I think they're all fine, right? I mean, they're 10K guys for a reason. Most of them have really good course history or tournament history. I should stop saying that, excuse me. Most are playing well coming in. The one guy you know what? I'll skip over Tiger. We're going to talk more about Tiger. Don't worry. Don't fret. I'll make you watch till the end or a little bit longer. We're going to talk about Tiger, but I have to talk about Justin Rose. Rose I think he is criminally underpriced at $9,900. I'm going to pull up his game logs real quick, and I'm going to show you why I think that. So here is Justin Rose worldwide. He has not finished worse than 23rd since April 1st. That was the Houston Open. He has not finished worse than 23rd. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 events, including a win and 5 top 10s. Yeah, pretty good, okay? To be priced at $9,900 when, I don't know if I have this handy. Yeah, here it is. Last 20 weeks of strokes gained stats. So strokes gained total, 2.56 per round for Justin Rose. Only DJ is better, and those two guys are head and shoulders above the rest of the field. So to me, I can't wrap my head around this price tag. The only time he's ever been priced lower than this is at the 4 majors this year, which is just notoriously soft pricing. So any other event, he's been, at least 10,000. We've seen him pop up at 11,000, 11,004, 11,005 a couple of times. So just doesn't seem like an accurate price for Rose. All right, we'll talk more about Rahm in a second. Spieth, I think he's starting to find it. If you look at the strokes gained stats, it's tough because he played well at the Open Championship. We don't have strokes gained stats there. So I think his stats look worse than they probably are. But he is coming off a 12th at the PGA Championship. He's got 3 top 12s here in the last 4 years. Again, I understand these are different courses, but tournament-wise, you can kind of correlate some of these things together. So I think Spieth at $9,600, where, again, I'm so bad at guessing ownership. I don't know what his ownership is going to be, but for me, that's a compelling option. A couple other guys here real quick before we move along. Webb Simpson, you can probably get me to buy on Webb. Charged up the leaderboard on the weekend to finish second at the Wyndham, and now that is 4 straight top 25s for him. He had a 6th place at this event last year, a 6th place in 2013. And what I like about Webb is not much, quite honestly, just because I hate watching that golf swing, but he's producing a lot of results. He's one of the few guys, I'd have to look this up, he's finished top 20 at all 4 majors this year. I don't know how many guys there are that have done that. It can't be many, but that tells me he can compete in tough courses, tough fields, and he can rise to the top. So Webb for me now back down to $9,200 after that $11,600 price tag last week. I think this is okay. I think I could play Webb. A couple other guys that kind of remind me of Webb. Well, not in all cases, but just the fact that they charged on the weekend. 3 guys at the Wyndham Championship last week with the 3 best weekend scores were Webb Simpson, who was 12 under on the weekend, and then Hideki Matsuyama and Rafa Cabrera-Bello, who were both 11 under on the weekend. All 3 of those guys in this field, all 3 of those guys I think can be solid plays. Hideki kind of just torched the course on Sunday, finished 11th place. Cabrera-Bello also finished 11th, which is now 11th, a 10th, and a 17th in the last 3 weeks for Cabrera-Bello. He's only $7,900. He's playing really, really well. All right. Any other real big values down here? Ryan Moore, 6th place last week. We're going to talk about some key stats, and we'll probably find some value later, so let's not waste any more time there. Let's just jump over to the strokes gained stats, and I want to continue to talk about last week real quick. So I'm just going to pull up the Wyndham 2018 stats, look at the guys that were in the field, and what we always like to do is this right here, where we sort this by strokes gained total, and then we basically find the guys who are losing a lot of strokes on the greens. Because that is the most volatile of any of these statistics. So our first guy that pops off here is our friend Billy Horschel. Finished, oh man, Billy, what'd you finish last week? Oh man, I want to say like 11th. 11th, yeah, he did. He finished 11th last week. Okay, he's $7,300 this week. He finished 11th last week. Lost 0.79 strokes per round on the greens. That is out of character for Billy Horschel, who is usually gaining about a half a stroke on the greens, okay? So that is a stroke and a quarter that he lost last week, more than he normally does. Kind of doing this is, this little exercise of finding guys who are playing well but not putting to their season average or 20-week average or whatever it is. This has been successful for us this year. We've seen that normalization where these guys can kind of come back, get back to normal, continue to strike the ball well, and then roll some putts in like they normally do. Horschel would be that candidate this week. Matsuyama's another guy. Matsuyama, okay, I know he's not a good putter. I understand that. But he lost a half a stroke per round last week. In the last 20 weeks, he's been an even putter. Like literally dead 0-0-0, dead even putter for the last 20 weeks. So even there's some room for improvement there for Hideki. You're probably going to get a lot of my dollars because all of these things that I'm mentioning with him charging on the weekend and now, being able to make up some ground in the putting department. All right. What else are we going to look at for this week? So there's a couple of things. I'll flip over to the tour stats real quick. A couple of things that popped off. Again, we don't have a lot of great tournament history. We only have 3 years of it. Take it for what it's worth. But the thing that really jumped off the screen was approach shots. Off the tee, not very important. Strokes gained approach, incredibly important. Okay? Small sample, but take it for what it's worth. So when you start sorting by guys, and this is season long that I'm looking at right now, guys who are gaining a lot of strokes approach, you get the normal guys here, right? It's Keegan, it's Stewart Cink, it's Chesson Hadley, like those guys you expect. But there are a few interesting names here. JT is number 1. Dustin Johnson is number, 6. And the guy in the middle, number 3, and actually, I'm going to flip over to another visual here because I think it shows it a little bit better. In the last 20 weeks, number 1 in the world in strokes gained approach, Tiger Woods. Yeah, so we don't talk about Tiger a lot on this because, quite honestly, his Vegas number is always inflated because the public loves him. His DraftKings price then, in turn, is always inflated because they're making their pricing off of the Vegas odds. He gets way too much ownership because his name is Tiger Woods, and it's hard to find value in him, quite honestly, on a weekly basis. So when I kind of tout him, or I'm as interested as I am this week, it must be for good reason. Strokes gained approach was incredibly important in all the correlation models that I run. He leads the world in the last 20 weeks, and strokes gained approach was really not as valuable as we've seen in many other weeks, and that's where Tiger falters. We know that. So you're getting my eyes to light up a little bit here. It's 10,100, which I'm never really thrilled to pay, but man, this course would seem to fit for Tiger, and he's just playing outside his mind right now. So I think you get a really good opportunity here to roster Tiger if you want it. He's actually tied with Molinari. So Francesco Molinari also gaining 1.1 strokes per round in approach. And then again, I mentioned Keegan for some value, and then Joel Dahman. So Joel Dahman is the last guy. There's 5 guys who are gaining at least 1 stroke per round in the last 20 weeks. Dahman is the 5th, and if you want good value, he's $6,800. I'm probably gonna have to roster him in when I do like my single entry grind. But just to kind of show you this, whoops. If you're listening in, I'm a terrible typer. I don't know why that is. Also a bad clicker. I click constantly. I'm so bad at it. All right, Joel Dahman. His last 5 starts have produced 5 top 25s, 3 top 10s, a second place at the John Deere Classic. This does not include that Barracuda Championship. I think he was like 54th, but it's a Barracuda Championship. I'm willing to let it slide to continue to allow me to say he has 5 straight top 25. So $6,800. I think that's a logical target for a guy who, I'm clicking all over the place. For a guy who is striking the ball as well as he is, and this course would indicate it's going to be a ball striker who finds success, or ball strikers are going to find success. All right. Other values, just to kind of throw them out there, guys that are under maybe $7,500. If you're looking for approach guys, it's Berger, it's Cink, and it's Moore. Those guys are all top 10 players in approach, and they're all under their $7,500 or less. All right. Let's flip over to, I didn't call it course history, but I think this is interesting. What I've done here is I've taken all the playoff events. So the 4 playoff events since 2018, only looked at the guys in the field, sorted them, and ranked them by average DraftKings points. And what you notice is, the cream really does rise to the top here. So, Tiger in his 11 events is second, 85 DraftKings points. Paul Casey, 18 events, 78 DraftKings points. Dustin Johnson, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, they're all like top 7 guys. A couple of names I think are interesting here. Jon Rahm. So Rahm leads the way. He's number 1. Very, very small sample size. He's only played 4 events, but it's interesting to note that he had no worse than a 7th place finish in any of those 4 playoff events last year. He had a 3rd, a 4th, a 5th, and a 7th. There you go. The Northern Trust, he finished 3rd. It was at Glen Oaks, but there you go. Xander Schauffele, also 4 events, but his was a little more erratic, right? He won the Tour Championship, so that kind of boosted him. He then had a 17th, a 20th, and a 53rd last year. So kind of 2 different ways to get to the top of the leaderboard here. And, other than that, just to really show you, these really consistent guys, these really good guys are, they're in the playoffs all the time. It raises their DraftKings numbers because they're playing so often, or they're playing late and there's no cuts, stuff like that, right? But the cream is really rising to the top. I think Phil is at least somewhat interesting. He's won here before. He's the only guy in the field that has won at Ridgeway. I keep screwing it up. Ridgewood. He's the only guy in this field who's won here. There's only 6 guys. There's only 6 top 5s, I believe, which is DJ's got 2 of them. JB Holmes has 1. Phil has his win. And then Patty Harrington. There's actually 5. So 5 guys, 5 occurrences in this field with top 5s when you just look at 2018, 2010, and 2014, which is when Ridgewood was the host of this event. All right. Let's wrap this up with the look at some Vegas odds here. And I actually think Vegas and DraftKings pretty much synced up here. So let's see. According to Vegas, Zach Johnson would not be a good play. He's $8,700, which is basically the price range of all the other 40-1 guys, and Zach is 66-1. Patrick Cantlay is the cheapest of those 40-1 guys. He's $8,600. Snedeker, Adam Scott, and Hideki all have the same odds. They're all at least a few $100s more expensive. Other than that, actually, our man Billy Horschel checks in at 66-1 and $7,300. His peers in this price range are mostly 80-1. Benny On is 100-1. Stuart Sink, Ryan Moore, 100-1. So Horschel is the value in that range. But other than that, it's pretty good, right? I think this is actually priced pretty well. I don't know how deep you're going to have to go for value here if you're going to want to roster some of those top salaried guys. I think if you start getting down here, we talk about it every week. Charlie Hoffman's long-term form, $6,800. Let's see who else is down here. Oh man, there's some ugliness when you get down here. If you want to go back to Varner, he was kind of chalky last week, right? And finished 53rd, which is a little bit disappointing. But if you liked him last week, you should probably continue to like him again this week. But I'm kind of looking for those approach guys. So Keegan at 7,000. Even Berger, who I'm not a Berger fan at all, but he's only $7,000. He strikes the ball well. Those would be the guys that I'd be targeting down in that price range. So there you go. It's the playoffs. There's a lot of cool stuff that's going to be happening. A lot of guys jostling for every point they can get to advance. So this is going to be a fun week. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts about it as well. So tweet me. It's at DFS On Demand, or leave a comment below. Good luck. See ya.